Hey everybody, Riot Mort here, back with Riot Kent, and it's time for patch 12.9 rundown. This is the second to last patch of Gizmos and Gadgets and Neon Knights, which means it's time to screw it all up just for the hell of it. So that's what we're here to do today. We're gonna toss it all out the window, throw things crazy, and have some fun in our what players often deem the for fun patch. So Kent, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm like excited for this patch, but also kind of terrified because Mort is a mad scientist behind the scenes doing some wild things we'll get to in a sec.
I thought say I know there's at least one that has you scared to hell.
Yeah, I like messaged him like, wait a second, and we had like a conversation about this. But yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
there.
So real talk, I do want to talk a little bit about our goals for this patch because normally when we're balancing the game, especially near the end of a set, it's like we're getting it to a stable spot, it's nice and balanced, and then we don't touch it. We hands off, other than like maybe a light for fun change. Like if you go back and look historically, for example, in 4.5, we added lucky lanterns, but there weren't a lot of balance changes besides that. It was like the meta's pretty good at this point. With this set, though, it feels like it's dragging on a little bit long. No pun intended. No pun intended. Uh,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and we actually kind of wanted to shake up the meta on purpose. We normally don't do this, and we don't want to do this often, but for the last month, for those of you that have stuck around and are still playing and still having fun, we want to give you a different experience for this last patch. So there are more balance changes than normal, more things that are going to be a little crazy, so that you have fun for this last month before moving into the last set. So that's why this is a little different than normal. Hopefully it's exciting. Hopefully it's still fun. Let us know. If it doesn't work, we won't do it again like this, but I think it should be good. So,
Yeah, kind of want to encourage experimentation here. Like try out these new things, try chasing these other things, build these other carries, and see if you can, come up with something that's like really fun and OP to you, basically.
yep. Cool. Well, shall we dive into it and talk about all these changes?
Let's go.
Sweet. Oh yeah, I guess the other thing we should talk about is how if this patch goes bad because everyone else was working on set 7, I tried to help out and I kind of did a lot of this patch minus like the egg stuff. So, if anything's bad in this patch, not that you can't already do this anyway, but blame me. I take all the blame. So, you know.
That's kind of how it goes,
I
anyways,
know.
which
I
is
know.
not right. But it's okay. Don't
It's
don't do
fine.
that.
It's
Don't do
fine.
that.
All right, let's go. All
Okay.
right, so first off, the biggest thing right away is the treasure dragon has visited Neon Knights, and now there are dragon eggs. At the start of the game, every player gets an egg. There are 5 different sized eggs, ranging from a 4 turn egg all the way to a 27 turn egg. The bigger the egg, the more stuff inside, but the longer it takes to hatch. The small egg opens right away at 2-1. The largest egg opens all the way at 5-6, all the way at the dragon stage. Every player gets the same size egg. Every egg has the same contents, though the items are different. So you can see, for example, the second egg gives you a tome and 2 components. I might get a belt and a sword. Kent might get double cloak because I hate him. It's all good. And the thing to note here is the biggest change is that basically no matter what, the egg has a tome inside, which means more traits are going to be accessible than ever before. You'll be able to make more versions of things like 7 Mutant, 7 Innovator, 9 Chemtech, etc., etc. We want to kind of promote building armies in a lot more different ways than you're normally used to. And so hopefully that tome should change things, but also occasionally a late game item, Reforger, Radiant item, stuff like that. And so this should definitely mix things up.
Yeah, and for you more like experienced players who want to, optimize around the tome, you can think about make decisions around when you want to use this tome, depending on your board state, things like that. Or, just going for selling the tome right away, pick a direction there and go for that and play something different every game. We hope that it's like transformative for your game, so that you have a lot of different experiences over this patch. And then even like once in a while when you get those wild 2 radiant items, you can go for like some super exciting end game capped board that like you haven't seen in a long time. So
Yep.
since set 5.5.
Sweet. So yeah, should be excellent.
God.
All right, next change. So we're looking at the augment distribution of the rules and stuff, and I'm not going to lie to you, we have some bigger changes coming for Dragonlands that aren't ready yet. But we want to test a few things and introduce a few things here. But this isn't actually that big a change from what you're used to. Some things to note here is we reintroduced gold, silver, silver. specifically to give you more chances at Recombobulator. So get that 4-6 Recombobulator. That could be very fun. We also lowered the chances of the Prismatic being the third augment overall. It still happens, but there will be less total games where the Prismatic is the third. There's still the same number of Prismatic games. It's still basically 1 in 3 games will have at least one Prismatic. And we doubled the all Prismatic games. So it went from 1% to 2%. So hopefully you'll still have a few more Prismatics. Now you might be wondering, why didn't we go nuts with the augments? Things like Prismatic every game or whatever. The thing to remember is augments are sticking around, for Dragonlands. And so we didn't want to taint the experience and kind of crank that to 11. But hopefully this should still create some new different ways and a better experience for the last month.
Yep, just a little, cranked it up a little bit to add a little bit more fun. But, players also have different feelings about the different types of augments, and especially Prismatics. Is really polarizing. And so we're just tuning it up a little bit for some occasional more exciting games.
Sweet. All right, on to the balance changes. All right, Assassin 6. Assassin 6 is a trait no one's really running. You'll have some more tomes. Should be fun. We're buffing it. Challenger 6 and 8. Those are some really fun chase traits, but right now when you hit them, they're not that exciting. We want to make sure they're more exciting, so we're buffing it. Chemtech 7 and 9. 7 and 9 especially when you hit it, not really that exciting, so we're buffing it. Debonair 5 and 7. Debonair's kind of been underperforming. We didn't really see much of it at Worlds, so we want to make sure Debonair gets its chance back in the spotlight. Oh, I guess that's a socialite pun. Anyway, Debonair should be more playable, so we're buffing it. Any comment on those, Kent?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how many puns you have planned for this patch rundown, and I'm bracing myself to be ready for them. But no, I mainly on 9 Chemtech, it's some of these things are 8 Challenger, they're very difficult to hit, and they sometimes pay off, but sometimes they don't. And so by making them not only more accessible through the tomes, but also making them a little bit stronger, they should really pay off when you hit them, and you'll have a lot of fun going for these really high verticals this patch.
Yep, cool. And then Colossus. Let's talk about Colossus. So when we launched Colossus, I'll be honest with you, I did not want a 3-piece trait in there. I didn't want players feeling like they were baited into playing something that wasn't very good, and only playing 5 units at level 8. Kind of a weird thing. But as we approached the end of the set, I said, you know what? Let's let players have their fun. So if you're willing to run 3 Colossus, the way it works is you still get the 25% damage reduction. On top of that, instead of the 800 health bonus, you get a 1600 health bonus. Now, I have seen some confusion around the way the tooltip is worded, so I want to make sure that's really clear. If you're running 3 Colossus, they all get 25% DR and 1600 health. That's what they get. This definitely makes for some interesting comps. If you've watched any of my YouTubers, I've shown that before. Also with some changes to Alistar you'll see later. But yeah, you can do some pretty fun things with 3 Colossus, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this change. The board shape kind of changes a lot, and these health bars are chonky. They're real thick, so it'll be good.
Should be a giant amount of fun. All right, moving on. Enchanter, same thing. We still aren't seeing a ton of excitement around 4 and 5 Enchanter. We're buffing it. Hextech, same thing. The vertical, not really doing that great right now. We're buffing it. Omnivamp, it's the one mutant that people aren't really excited to run vertical. We're buffing it. Cool. Any comment on those, Kent?
Nothing to add here.
Cool. Enforcer. Ever since we made the change where we cut out 4 Enforcer, I think a lot of players have been sad that there isn't really a reason to chase Enforcer. We didn't want to add back more CC. That Enforcer CC is kind of just not fun. But we did want to open up a possibility of playing something like a 5 Enforcer. Maybe make Enforcer Spat more willing to be taken. So what we did is we added a 5-piece trait. Your Enforcers gain 80% attack speed. I'm kind of looking for someone to hit that dream of 5 Enforcer, True Justice with a Jace. That should be really fun. And remember now, everyone gets a tome in that egg. I think we will see a lot more 5 Enforcer being possible because you can get that Enforcer emblem pretty easily. So that should open up some new possibilities there.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the 5 Enforcer Zeri with an Enforcer Spat, Rage Blade, 6 Clockwork, Wokch. So fast.
Jesus. That'll be fun. Mercenary. This is a pretty light change. It'll look like a lot more than it really is. But basically, we lowered the gold very slightly. It's not even worth showing you the tables. That's how slight it is. But basically, in the 0 to 5 loss range, on average, like let's say you have a 5 loss streak and you cash out, I think you lost like 3 gold on average. It's not a lot. It's not a big change, but it is just very slight. But 7 mercenary, on the other hand, has been something that hasn't really been worth chasing. There's going to be more emblems that hopefully should create some excitement. I expect we're going to see a lot of 7 mercenary games. We've buffed it. It's more accessible. So hopefully some 7 merc to end the set should be a lot of fun. Get those crazy dice rolls. Maybe get some tactician's crowns out of those orbs and have a blast there.
Just want to add clarification that the 0 to 5 loss, you get those on your way to like 10 or 9 or 10 loss. So it affects like those really big cash outs. But as Mort mentioned, it's not like a huge nerf. And so those cash outs will still be real juicy, just a little bit less.
Yep. Great. Socialite. We've seen Socialite actually underperforming. We want to be real light though, because we're adding 3 Colossus, which synergizes really well with the Socialite. We're seeing a lot more damage. So just to be careful, we're not going to see a ton of like 5 Socialite Insanity. We were light, but Socialite, we're buffing it. Yordle 6, same thing. I think a lot of players still haven't really seen Yordle be a big vertical. I don't think it's going to change much, but again, we're buffing it. And then finally, the Syndicate change from last patch. Just want to kind of revert that. That didn't really do any good. You'll see some power placed other places, but overall, that was just get it back to where we had it before.
Yep. For the Socialite, kind of encourages you to like try out a different carry. You can give the Socialite bonus to anyone that you want. Kind of experiment there and see, you know, if this pays off by building, I don't know, Socialite Zillion carry, something like that. Syndicate, we talked about in the patch postmortem, but ultimately we did a revert in order to fix some of the problems that we caused last patch with the buff. Personally, I think there's a lot of different ways we could have addressed the issue, but I think this is like the most straightforward way, especially now that Syndicate's even more accessible. So 7 is a lot easier to hit. We don't want it to be taking over the game.
Agree.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, on to champions. Caitlyn, we're buffing her. Get some AD, some spell, it'll be great. Camille, we're buffing her. Maybe have your Camille carry. She's going to do more damage. Alawi, big buff, especially for Alawi 3. Those get your loaded dice strats ready, because Alawi 3 is going to be terror. And Jarvan, we're buffing him. So these are champions that no one's really ever excited to like 3-star and make their carry. So guess what? We're buffing them.
You're seeing all these green words on these pages. Wait until you see like the graphic for what we're buffing and nerfing.
They'll have seen it by now because it will have come out. Actually, it should have come out today.
Okay.
I don't know if we do the previews anymore, but either way, yeah, that graphic's hilarious.
Yeah. Caitlyn 3, you know, now if you weren't killing units at 2000 damage and now you're killing units at 2250 damage, very great with like Omnivamp and Sniper. You'll see big numbers, which is always fun. And then Alawi, the spell healing, like it looks like doesn't look like that big of a buff. I mean, it kind of is, but like it doesn't look like that big of a buff. But that healing, she gets pretty immortal if you build her the right way.
Triple Hand of Justice Alawi. I'm leaking the tech now.
Oh.
So, all right, let's keep going. Poppy, we're buffing her. We want your 6 bodyguard Poppy 3 with Jeweled Gauntlet Fantasy to be a reality. So
Candyland is back.
Candyland's back. We're buffing her. Twitch. Okay, this one's tricky. So Twitch is not a champion that really needs buffs. We're not trying to get Twitch 3 back in the meta. We had enough of that. We don't really need more. This buff is specifically around Twitch 1 and 2, which look abysmal in the data and are not fun to play. So this should be a big buff for Twitch 1 and 2. It looks like a big number going from 30 to 60, but remember, this is just the base damage, which the spell also does AD damage on top of that. So percentage-wise, this is not a big buff, but hopefully this should help Twitch a bit.
Yep, I'll also keep in mind that Twitch 1 has like 450 health, so very easy to kill early game when there's only a few units on the board.
Yep. All right, moving on to 2 costs. There's only 2 of them this time, but Sejuani has been another champion that's kind of not been exciting to 3-star ever since we nerfed her on PBE a bit. So we're buffing her damage quite a bit. If you want to run like a 3-star Sejuani carry, that could be interesting. But you're going to see with a lot of the CC champions, we don't really want them going infinite and locking you in place. So to compensate, they are getting their stuns nerfed a bit. So you can see here, Sejuani 3 will nerf 1 second less, but do a lot more damage. And then the same as Zillion. Honestly, the Zillion change, Robin whispered me, he's like, hey, I'll buy you a steak dinner if you do this. And I'm like, look, I'm pretty corrupt. I just want to help Robin out. None of that actually happened. But the reality is we do want to make Zillion kind of an exciting carry, have some fun with that. And so Zillion gets buffed at, can cast more often and do some more damage. I like that 777. Pays in exchange for the stun duration.
Time flies. Zillion socialite carry. Let's go.
Yep. Sweet. All right, on to 3 costs. Why don't you talk about this slide?
Okay. So Cho'Gath, we're giving him a buff to how high he can stack, basically. But on top of that, the most important part is he now grows faster. This doesn't affect how much HP he actually gains. He just gets even larger, so he looks more menacing on your board. Very big, very important for ruining your opponent's morale when you have a gigantic Cho'Gath. But also, yeah, we're buffing the stacks at 2 stars so that 1 and 2 stars so that you can get you can still achieve that dream of like having a really really stacked Cho'Gath if you get him early. Gangplank, we're buffing him at 2 and 3 star. We nerfed him at 1 star last patch because 1 star during stage 2 was farming too much gold. But if you hit 2 star and 3 star, and you want to build a Gangplank carry, especially with the buffed socialite, something you can try out. And for Leona. She's never been that exciting of like a debonair carry. Getting a VIP one, stacking a bunch of items on her. Never been that exciting. The healing is kind of good, but we're upping that by a lot so that you can really feel excited about having this super super tank Leona that's like immortal.
Warmogs, Redemption, Gargoyle, Leona. Now, granted, they'll just still kill your backline, but it'll be funny,
Yeah, you'll just tie every round. Because your carry will still get sniped, but it'll be great.
Yeah, but no, I mean, hopefully there's something fun there. And again, we're definitely tuning the number very high to see if someone can find something there.
Yeah, hopefully, it's a build involving like Bramble, Dragonclaw, so you can actually dish some damage out back, or the tech is Rageblade because she'll stack for so long that she'll have like a really high attack speed.
There you go.
So
Rageblade Death Cap, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, Senna. Senna's another example of a champion that occasionally found a spot, but really hasn't lately, so we're just kind of bringing her back up. Didn't want to up the damage too much, but can cast and heal a little bit better, so that should help Senna. Tryndamere is right on the line. He's definitely found some cases where he works. Not a ton, though, so we're just upping him a little bit. A little survivability, a little bit of bonus damage. Nothing too crazy. And then Zach's another one that, honestly, if you want to try to make a Zach carry work, we're going to help you out here. So can cast a little more often, and at 3 star especially gets a little bit more damage. So maybe something like a Zach carry can be good here. And in conjunction, right, it's like the Zach, the Tryndamere, the Chemtech 7, all should make something like a Chemtech build kind of possible.
Yeah, and this Zach damage is actually pretty high at 3 star because he'll cast pretty often. So with the Chemtech buffs, hopefully, there's something fun out there with Zach. Senna, we're seeing a little bit of like Senna carry, but not something that people are like super excited about building. So we want to make sure that she is a viable carry, especially now Socialite's buffed again, Enchanter's buffed. She should be like another premier 3-cost reroll comp if you do want to go over that direction.
Cool. All right, on to 4 costs. Ahri. Ahri's just never quite been as amazing as, say, like the Sivers, the Jins of the world. Just a very light buff to make her cast a little bit more often. Draven has definitely been under the radar for a while. Just giving him a big chunk of AD, let him hopefully cut through those frontliners a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but it's a big damage for Draven.
Yeah, this one scares me a little bit, but I think Draven more.
No.
Yeah, we did talk about it. Draven does need it. Not the scariest change, but this is a lot of AD.
No, this change is not even top 5 riskiest in this patch.
I don't know about that. More, we'll see. We'll see.
Actually, okay. At the end, we'll top 5 it. All right.
Okay.
All right. Vi gets a slight damage buff. If you want to make that Vi carry work, it's a small buff, should help get that death cap. She's still a good tank on top of that damage. And then let's talk about the 2 real changes. Mad Cow. Mad Cow's back. I always thought it was a little bit of a shame when we took out Mad Cow. Well, it's the for fun patch. Mad Cow's back. Doing some good damage here. So Alistar gets to cast a little more often. Get some damage. You could actually do things like Socialite or Death Cap on Alistar, i.e. Jeweled Gauntlet with some chalices. Have some fun. But does pay with a little bit of CC duration removal there. Any comments on that before we get to the big one?
Yeah, I think for Alistar, just one thing to keep in mind that he is not CCable. So if you have healing on him and he's dealing this big AOE damage, he's gonna hurt. So this one, yeah, another one of our risky changes, but it's a lot of fun and it kind of is a pretty hard build to get online. But if you can pull it off, it should really pay off. Now, as Mort said, the chalices, like tons of AP, damage amp, all that good stuff. So it would be fun.
Cool. All right, then I think we both agree this is probably the riskiest change. But let's talk about
Yes.
Orianna. Orianna has basically never been a champion you're like, sweet, I want to put 3 items on that champion. She's really good as like 2 clockwork support or enabling enchanter or back in the Joy days. I mean, she was the O of Joy. But I'm really trying to see if we can make her a carry without making her too unhealthy here. Now, did we go too far? Maybe. But we're going to try it here. So, Oriana's going to be a little more fragile. So, if you can take her down with like an assassin or something, she'll still die. But she gets to cast more often. So, earlier cast more often. Attack speed, so she could synergize well with things like Shojin. She'll shield her team a little bit better. And remember, this synergizes with Enchanter. So, I want to see a 5 Enchanter comp all bunched up in the corner with Oriana shielding the team repeatedly. And then the damage side was very light. We actually didn't give her much more damage. We thought the damage was fine as long as the spell hits. So it is a very large buff to Oriana. Will it work and make her a carry? Hopefully. Will it make her OP and ruin the meta? Hopefully not. Let's find out.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the biggest one. And Mort and I thought I was like, oh, what? This is 40 mana off of max mana and like a faster first cast. This is wild. And faster attack speed. This unit is going to be like, this is one of the largest buffs I've seen in a while. I don't know. She's going to be good. But I think the one thing that like we do agree on is that she's very unreliable with her targeting. You need to like really manipulate her targeting in order for her to actually be a good carry. And I will leak the tech. You frontline clump kind of like keepers were in set 4. That way you can hit the enemies and buff your team at the same time and you create the largest clump. So try that out, see how that goes. Maybe it'll work. Maybe she'll still be unreliable because units will walk around.
But we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, if it goes wrong, blame me. You will. You will anyway, so it's fine. All right, on to 5 costs. Just Silco. Silco, we're just giving a little bit of love here. Silco's already a good champion. People are happy to run Silco, but they mostly run him for his utility. We just want him to be able to cast a little bit more often, so he gets his attack speed buff, and those explosions to actually be a little bit more meaningful. Maybe there's a world where now you might actually consider some AP on Silco to get those explosions to hit really hard. 600 base is a lot of damage, and so, throw on a death cap and some chalices, and maybe the Silco can do some pretty wonky things. I doubt it, but maybe. So
Silco uses his teammates as his weapons, it'll be fun.
Cool. All right, this is a big change. We should talk about this one. Morellonomicon. To use the streamer terms, we're gutting it. We're gutting it hard. It's getting its damage, the true damage part of it, cut in half. Now you might be like, why? What are you doing? And I can't tell you exactly why yet, because the reality is it kind of matters for next set. So we're kind of testing it out here. This is to test the waters and see how it feels with Morello being a much more utility item than a damage item. I will say I've never really enjoyed the fact that you have like a Renata or an Ari, and they would rather have Morello than Death Cap, because the damage is actually higher on Morello than Death Cap. That's been very much incorrect. So this is to try to correct that. My expectation is this item is going to be weak. This item is going to be very weak. But again, this is a long-term play right now, and it should force you to sort of change your itemization on a lot of the AP carries, try different things out, and maybe see how that goes. We'll see. Very curious how this plays out.
Yeah, really shifting the idea of the item from like, I'm going to do a bunch of damage, and also on the side, I get to like, grievous wounds on everybody and make them heal for less. This is more of just like I'm going to apply anti-heal to most of the enemy team. And the damage is kind of just like secondary and is there to, is like the secondary part effect rather than the main effect.
Yep.
Big change in the identity of the item.
Yep. Augment-wise, not a ton of augment changes. We did a big augment pass 2 patches ago, and to be frank, we're prepping for Dragonlands augments. But Electrocute 3, still underperforming. This shouldn't say no longer appears on stage 4-6. I just deleted that wrong. That's an error. Sorry about that. But anyway, we're just buffing Electrocute 3. And then Metabolic Accelerator now only available on 1.4. So no more 3.3 Metabolic kind of baiting you there. 2 small changes, nothing too crazy.
Yep, nothing to add here.
All right, on the small side, basically you're gonna see mostly nerfs, few buffs, but these are things that we just kind of wanted to nudge down, so that just in case the meta didn't end up the same thing it already is. So let's just go over these real quick. Clockwork 6, especially with it being more accessible, just a small nerf. It's still really, really strong. Scholar 4, we had originally buffed to 15. I was nervous on PBE, so we pulled it back to 12. We're not really seeing Scholar 4 dominate, so we're going to try the 15. We're going to let you have fun with that Scholar 4 15. It should be very strong. Enjoy that. And then Innovator 7. Innovator 7 was already really, really strong. Every time you got that dragon, felt really good. But with it being much more accessible due to the eggs and the tomes, we do need to bring it down so it's a little bit more fair, and not every game is who got 7 Innovator. So 7 Innovator gets a pretty big nerf onto its base HP, allowing you to hopefully take it down sometimes before it casts.
Yeah, I think the Innovator 7 HP, just because it's way more accessible, it's just like it needs to come down a little bit based on how we're seeing it in the data. It's really, really powerful, and so we're taking a decent chunk off of its base HP. This also, like, just for transparency, basically, like, this scales with star level, and so that's 100 HP off isn't exactly just like 100 HP.
Yep.
It matters a lot more when you have a full 7 Innovator board. Scholar 1, kind of risky, but opens up the door for a lot of different carries. Not only Scholars get the mana bonus, so you can build a lot of different things. Zillion, with 4 Scholar will cast a lot more often.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Be fun.
Cool. Singe, small buff, nothing crazy. Just another champion we did want to buff, but it's much smaller. Ash, tooltip bug fix, that's it. Now says what it's supposed to. Rek'Sai, small mana buff, same thing. Just a little bit of nudge to make Rek'Sai possible. Don't want to go too crazy. And then Warwick, we're actually nerfing. It's not that Warwick is OP right now, but it's like with all the Chemtech changes and stuff like that, really don't want to see just another Warwick meta. So this is our way of saying, okay, stay down, dog. Bad dog. You sit. You stay. So I really don't want to see a Warwick meta.
Yeah, with more like Challenger and Chemtech verticals coming back, we're hoping to see more Tryndamere carries or other types of, with an emblem or something like that, other types of carries rather than just going back to the Warwick meta.
Yep. Continuing on, Echo 3. No one's really excited to get an Echo 3. Like, Echo's obviously a great champion at 1 and 2, no question. Not really worth chasing at 3, so we're going to open up Echo 3 as a possible carry. I think with the scaling with Assassin, he could do some big AoE damage here, so something there. Malzahar, I buffed it because I like Malzahar, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. I'm corrupt. No, but actually, Malzahar has mostly fallen off as a carry. In some rare cases, he can work, but overall, he's kind of fallen out of favor. So we just want to make sure at the end of the set, Malzahar 3 can still be an exciting carry. Aurelia gets a very, very slight buff. We're seeing Aurelia underperform. Again, we don't want to make an Aurelia meta, but in conjunction with a few other changes, we think it's pretty safe, and we still want to make sure Aurelia is playable. And then finally, Sivir. I think we can all agree we don't really want a Sivir meta, so we're nerfing Sivir 1 pretty hard. Sivir 2 gets a light nerf, and then Sivir 3 actually is kind of underperforming, so a buff to Sivir 3.
Yeah, of course, this patch we see a buff to Malzahar.
You know what happens when I get control? I just,
Yeah, instant. First thing that went on that page was Malzahar when buffing Malzahar 3. No, for Sivir, I'm a little bit worried that like Sivir 1 is just going to be a really bad champion. A little bit of a concern, but like I think everyone's perception is that Sivir 1 is very powerful, and so at 2 it's a very small nerf, so maybe it doesn't really matter. If Hex Tech buffs, maybe even matters even less, and so maybe I'm just like over concerned for this. But it is like just a nudge at 2 stars, so.
Oh fine. No, I might not see some Sivers. Oh no.
I mean,
look, it's the last month. Let us enjoy the other 57 champions.
I mean, okay.
Nah, I'm just kidding. All right. Massive nerf to Jace here. I just don't like Jace. It needed a massive nerf. I just don't like Jace.
Riskiest change of this patch.
Riskiest change by far. But to compensate, Jace is helping his buddy Victor out with a massive buff to Victor. Now, which is crazy because Victor's already like wildly OP. And so making sure that we shifted so that Jace is just unplayable and Victor's like a must buy was the intent of these two changes. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we me and Mort talked about this a little bit. It was like this is a Mort was like, I mean, Victor's helping out. I mean, Jace is helping out his buddy because his buddy doesn't feel well, and an arcane reference. And this is excellent. This is great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, realistically though, it's fun to be a game designer, isn't it?
Yeah, Mort does one of these. Like I think I for those of you who played in Fates, there was one where it's like everyone was saying Lee Sin is OP, but he wasn't really OP. So Mort was like, we're gonna take off one health.
HP,
and that's when I first joined the team, and I was like, I see how this goes. How these last patches go.
Yep. All right, Kai'Sa's definitely been the star 5 cost this patch, and again, this patch is about changing things, so we are nerfing Kai'Sa a bit. It'll be harder for her to get that second, third, fourth cast. Should be a little bit of a nerf, but realistically, it's a very light nerf. I think Kai'Sa will still be very good. Zeri 1 has been underperforming a bit. There should be a pretty big buff, actually, to Zeri 1. It's a 20% spell damage buff. Can be pretty good. I know we tried 15 on PvE, and it was wildly overpowered, so hopefully this is a little healthier. And then finally, again, try to push those Yordles. If you hit Vhagar 1, I'm buffing it quite a bit here, so that if you hit Vhagar, you want to play it right away, and it'll do some damage. So hopefully a nice little quality of life buff for Vhagar here.
Yeah, pretty big buff to Vhagar 1. So it'll be real good. Zeri buff, Enforcer 5, Zeri, Rageblade, I want to see it.
Nice. One thing to note, by the way, as we were writing this, is I went to find the Vhagar art, and I realized I didn't have any Vhagar art. He doesn't have a shop card. And then I went, wait, we're at the end of the set, and you're telling me I'm just now realizing this? Sure enough, we didn't touch Vhagar all set. Right after we launched, there was like one bug fix, and that's it. So pretty crazy that we never touched Vhagar all set. I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah, it was shocking because when we realized, it was like, holy crap, we've actually never changed Vhagar. I remember doing a lot of changes on PvE, but then like once we shipped, that was it. And yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Wild. First time ever.
On the augment side, all the cybernetic versions, implants, shell, uplink 1, 2, 3, getting their HP nerfed. Those augments are a little too good for how generic they are. So we're getting ready for Dragonlands with a little bit of a nerf there. Golden Gift 1 and 2, that should say, not 3. There is no Golden Gift 3. They each get one more gray orb, just to nudge them up a little bit. And then finally, Thieving Rascals. We fixed some of the bad luck protection on there just a little bit so that the worst case isn't quite as bad anymore. Definitely had a few players reach out and have like, I ran Thieving Rascals and only got 2 items, so Thieving Rascals should be a little more consistent.
Yep. For the cybernetic ones, I know the numbers look really small, and when we first shipped these augments, we kind of had the same feeling. But as we played with them more, you kind of start to calculate out the effective HP it is for your team, and it's actually really impactful having this extra 125, 150 extra health. So the augments will still be good. It's just they'll be less powerful than they currently are looking in data.
Yep. And then finally, to end it all, we have a change to Double Up, where this is a nice quality of life change thanks to the awesome people working on Double Up. Because as we mentioned, we're going to be constantly shipping quality of life changes to Double Up. You can now return to your own board while you're reinforcing. So you can actually go back and do your shop stuff. So basically now, when you reinforce to your partner's board, the shop UI goes away, kind of like you're scouting, but you can go back and then interact and do stuff there. So that should be a nice pain point resolved there.
Yeah, this one was definitely something that was painful for a lot of players. I can't sell I can't sell my units. I can't make eco and things like that. And so this will help a lot.
Yep. And that's it. That's the changes. Maybe we could have done more, maybe not. I don't know. But the reality is the team's really busy getting ready for Dragonlands. When you guys are watching this, it's Sunday, so information will come out soonish after that. So it's gonna be exciting. Yeah. I know, Kent, you probably want to talk about those augments you've been working on, right?
I do want to talk about them, but I also don't want to get fired. So, not going to talk about them.
All right. You passed the test. You didn't leak the tech. Good job.
So. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Uh-oh, he's like, I'm
about to leak it. I'm excited to talk about them. There's a lot to go over for the new augments in next set, but we'll have to wait.
Yep. So hopefully this ties you guys over. Should be a lot of fun. Good way to end Neon Nights and Gizmos and Gadgets. Should be fun. That's pretty much it for this. 12.10, what you should expect is a very small patch. What we'll probably do is course correction on anything that went awry here. So, for example, if Oriana's wildly OP, you can expect Oriana nerf. But otherwise, you aren't going to get a ton in 12.10. It's just a small patch because that'll be when Dragonlands goes to PvE. You'll start seeing information. It's going to be pretty fun. You'll see why we've all been so busy and so tired. And yeah, and so I think that's it.
Yep. Just a little bit more time of set 6.5. I hope everyone has fun with this patch, the for fun patch, especially with those dragon eggs. Hoping to see some really fun clips on YouTube and Twitter and all that. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, on behalf of the whole team, hope you guys enjoy the for fun patch. Until all the cool Dragonlands information comes out, that's going to do it from us. Take it easy.